How's it going, everyone? David here. Man, it's been such a busy year so far for video games. Only 3 months into 2017, and we've already gotten some potential Game of the Year contenders this early, and it's a very crazy but very fortunate thing for us hardcore gamers. And amongst the group of so many great games, and some questionable ones coming out thus far, there's one that I think is starting to get a slightly underrated reputation because everyone's talking about Legend of Zelda, and quite an awful lot of people are talking about Mass Effect Andromeda for the wrong reasons. Hopefully, no matter how late this review might have been because of how much time I put into this game after clocking in at around 42 hours, and that may not sound so much for an awful lot of people, but keep in mind, I've been busy with school, with work. We got finals week up in film school, so I'm trying to get some final projects done. But in the midst of all that, I managed to finally complete at least the main story for one of the most highly acclaimed games of the year so far, and one that if you haven't gotten a chance to get into, I definitely recommend doing so at least within the foreseeable future, and that is for Horizon Zero Dawn. People are giving Zelda all the credit for going into different crevices of the world of Hyrule and tinkering with little things here and there that are just very minuscule details but really make this world flourish. Not a whole lot of love is being given over to Horizon Zero Dawn, so it's time for me to dedicate this entire video into becoming one humongous love fest for Horizon Zero Dawn. So deal with it. So before I start to conduct some fellatio on this game, let me tell you the story. Basically, it's 1,000 years into the future, and in this future, the world has turned almost upside down, where humans are no longer at the top of the food chain, and it's these robotic machines, and that's a little bit redundant, but these machines have taken this sentient nature that is much more animalistic. We're not dealing with a Terminator-like future where you got these robots going down and killing people. These robots do kill people, but they're more based on the animals that we know from today, from tigers to bears to even some fucking dinosaur-like robots that really do start to tip on the side of getting some robotic T-Rexes, or even these things called long necks, which are very much Brontosaurus dinosaurs roaming around only with like a dish satellite as a form of their head, and they're just walking around the world, and they have pretty much inhabited the world. So because of that, humans have now taken a lesser fit into that food chain, where they're much more like tribes people. They've kind of receded back to the times of the cavemen, except they're not illiterate. There's still some semblance of a society there, except it kind of delves more into kind of it kind of roots back to our ancestral background, where we're dealing with tribes, we're dealing with settlements. The story is really good. I will admit there's some tropish parts. There's certain things that kind of evolve as the story goes on, because at first we meet our protagonist Aloy, and Aloy is a fantastic protagonist. This is one of my favorite characters so far in video gaming that I'm hoping to see time and time again. But also there's something very unique to her. She's tied into this thing that at first I'm like, okay, it's another type of story where you got the one chosen character, the chosen one type of character that you're leading through this story. But as it goes on, you kind of realize that this kind of destiny or this kind of task could have been falling onto anybody. So it kind of makes sense that, okay, this character who at first kind of thought of herself to simply just be a character amongst all these people that make up this tribe, it's onto her that befalls this task to undergo as you navigate through the story, because things start to unfold. And I don't want to give too much away, because as interesting as the premise is of these people now kind of reverted back to that caveman or Native American type of style of living, and now these robotic dinosaurs have taken the higher command over how things work around this world. It's all about the backstory of what happened. What happened 1,000 years ago that kind of created this whole thing. That's what makes the story that much more interesting. That's the one thing that captivates our roots. Because of how unique this world is, with the mystery behind what happened 1,000 years ago with humans and what created these robot dinosaurs, and how that ties into Aloy's story, that's what makes those things kind of not only tolerable, but you're welcome to them. You like them. You're like, okay, I recognize that we've kind of done this before within the story, and you can kind of predict where certain things are going to happen, especially with some of the characters that get introduced early on in the story. Like, for example, there's this character Rost, who's like kind of like this father figure to Aloy, and as soon as I said father figure, you can kind of paint a picture in your mind of how that's going to fit into the story and what role he's going to play, and eventually what could happen with the character. But besides that, the game has this very organic way of kind of fitting together with its story and with that mystery that just unfolds as you kind of progress, with more characters getting introduced that you just want to dive deeper and deeper and deeper, especially when that story and that background and that mystery encourages the feel of exploration, because the main story that you kind of progress through, it gives you the overall gist of what happened 1,000 years ago, but there's all these other things that you can do on the side, like little audio files, the obligatory video game audio file, or these text logs that you can read through that really flesh out this mystery and this event that happened 1,000 years ago that I'm hoping we can explore more in a sequel game. To be quite honest, however, trying to figure out more about this mystery that happened 1,000 years ago with the humans and the creation of these beasts and the things that roam around the environment is not the only thing that's going to motivate you to want to explore this world, because it's just a very beautiful world to just explore, just to absorb the scenery, because Guerrilla Games, the developer behind this, who also did the Killzone games amongst other little things that they've done, they really went out of their way with this game. It is a beautiful, gorgeous game. And it's one that is very much deserving of a photo mode, which they did include in this game. And you've had photo modes in other games, but you never really paid that much attention to it. It's almost like they were self-aware that this game is just that beautiful, that their photo mode also goes above and beyond. You can kind of tinker with the exposure, with the apertures. You can kind of create a depth of field by blurring the background or blurring the foreground and making very dynamic and awesome shots that might extend your time with this game. This game took me 42 hours to beat, like I've said at the beginning of the video. I think I could have shaved off at least an hour off of that if I wasn't going around certain places and just tinkering with that photo mode. You can also change the time of day. It's not going to affect the actual gameplay or the quest that you're doing, but you can, for the sake of the photo mode, change the environment, change the lighting, and again, tinker with the little camera type of settings to capture that perfect shot. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll notice that I actually posted some of those shots on my account there, and it's just so great to mess around with this world and to just explore it, and also watch these people and these robotic beasts inhabit it, and makes the world come that much more alive. But out of those two groups, it would definitely be the beasts that stand out, because they actually feel like real animals. When they're walking around the environment, they feel like representations of those animals. Obviously, you got some robotic dinosaur-looking type of machines, but you also got some deer-like type of robots where they even got the antlers, and you even got some ones that resemble cows or resemble oxes or ox. Is it just like that? What's the plural term for fuck it, whatever. But then you even got some horse-like robots in there, and it's cool to just see them around because they would go around and graze the grass. I mean, they're robots, I understand that's a little weird, but they will go around and actually act like animals, and that was always cool to watch amongst the horizon, no pun intended, but going through the environment and seeing these animals kind of blend in with their surroundings. It's what really made this world come alive. The humans, they were good, but ever so often you would have just one or two minor technical issues. Like sometimes they would kind of talk amongst one another, like you would run through a settlement and you would hear so many humans kind of start to overlap their lines of dialogue, and whenever you do talk to a certain character, and the camera would then switch to kind of like a one-on-one type of conversation where then you can kind of exchange dialogue and choose your dialogue to see what type of responses you would get from them as Aloy. They would sometimes have these animations that weren't bad, but they would kind of take me out of the scene just a little bit, especially when the conversation between the two characters would be very dramatic, but then sometimes their animations would be like this, like their eyes would be fixed on Aloy, but yet they would be moving their bodies a certain way to where it would feel just a little bit iffy. But that's more than what I can say for another game that just came out recently. And exploring the world is not the only awesome thing about the gameplay. This is a third-person action game that doesn't really rely heavily on guns. It relies heavily on your spear and on your arrow. And of course, there's various modifications for both of those weapons. There's different outfits that you can equip on Aloy, as well as different forms of resources, potions, things that you can craft together, and of course, a gorgeous leveling up system. It's also blended with the elements of an RPG as well as an open world RPG, because this world that you explore is fucking huge. And trust me, the main quest is not the only thing that you're going to be attracted to, because if you love open world RPGs, this is the game for you, because there's so many things to do on the side, from the coveted side quests, and these are the good side quests where there's going to be an occasional one where they tell you to collect 5 or something, 5 rabbit pelts or some shit like that, but there's so many side quests that actually have a little bit of a narrative going on with certain characters. There's a backstory to them. Just recently, one of the last few side quests that I did before finally putting this game back on the shelf before I move on to Mass Effect Andromeda was one that involved a tragic story between this girl and this guy that he liked, but they couldn't be together, a la Romeo and Juliet. And I was like, damn, you're going out of your way to really put some strong emotion into a fucking side quest. And the voice actors behind them are also doing a very good job. They're pausing when they're supposed to pause. They're absorbing the scene. They're not phoning it in. This is more than what you could ask for out of these quests that you're given besides the main quest. And trying to check all of them off while at the same time doing these errands, like the cauldrons where you can kind of gain some access to be able to override other machines, as well as these bandit camps that you can kind of clear out, and several other little things to collect, from those things that can flesh out the backstory to other little things that simply just partake to the world that you're living in right now, that involve these tribes and these people and these outcasts, and why it is that some people are kind of shunned from others, which is one of the things that really made me feel for Aloy, is that she was raised as an outcast, so this made her be shunned by other people, and that really made me root for her all the more. The world, as well as the gameplay, and how much it kind of emphasizes on you having to not only level up as a character and increase your health and also increase your skills. With every upgrade that you gain after leveling up, you get an upgrade point, and obviously you can spend it on an upgrade tree like every RPG has. But what's cool is that these upgrades are more so for certain skills. It's up to you to really hone in your movement and your abilities as Aloy, so that you can take on some bigger machines and be able to progress not only through the story, but also just become that much more of a dominant species over these robotic dinosaurs. And when you are trying to hone in those skills, the controls are very, very fluid. There's so many, even early on in the game, when I was already like 2 or 3 hours into the game, I was still discovering new things with some of the buttons. 5 hours in, and I barely figured out, I got the PS4 controller right here, barely figured out that this bumper right here is actually the heavy melee attack. I knew about the light melee attack, but I did not know about the heavy one. So you're still discovering new ways to kind of combine all these buttons, from using your spear to using the bow, and in combination with the two of those, and also trying to make sure that you are collecting as many medicinal herbs as possible. It's a game that really makes you think and strategize, while at the same time being in the cut in real time while trying to deal with these animals. And when you go hunting for these robotic creatures, you really do need to pull up your hunting instincts, because these are, after all, animals. Even though they're robotic and they're machines, they're still acting like animals, so they're going to respond like animals. You need to sneak around them sometimes. Sometimes sneaking is not an option, so you need to be able to tie them down, because they kind of represent a robotic version of an alligator or a tiger or something like that. And to capture these creatures or to take them down, you need to think like an animal. You need to tie them down, you need to lure them, you need to shock them or whatever. You bring in some of the elements like shock, electrical arrows, or fire, or all that stuff. I don't want to get too much into it because it's going to make the video all that much more longer, but there's definitely a thinking aspect to how you approach the gameplay. That's not without its problems, however. Out of all the things that I think bother me the most about the gameplay would be the camera, especially when you deal with some of the bigger robotic creatures. Sometimes the camera would try to fix to try to make space for as much of the dinosaur as well as Aloy as possible, that sometimes I couldn't find Aloy. It's like it's trying to find that balance, that sometimes I would be focused too much on the dinosaur, or the robotic dinosaur if you will, and yet Aloy is down here at the corner. I'm like, where am I? And then the dinosaur would then charge me, and Aloy would be right underneath the creature, and the camera would just be like, whoa, where you at? Where you at? And before I know it, I got stomped to death. I feel weird because I feel like I should be picking apart more things about this game, but I genuinely love it, because besides those 2 or 3 qualms I had, from the camera to some of the weird animations during the one-on-one conversations where you can kind of see the transition between a cutscene and then those one-on-ones where the animations get just slightly more stilted, still, this is a RPG that Guerrilla poured all their love and passion and work and effort and soul and spirit into, and I think that it remarkably paid off. You got a remarkable protagonist in Aloy, you got an amazing RPG and third-person action game system that is working very well together, that then complements the world that you're inhabiting and the world that you're exploring, and that exploration rewards you with not only actual rewards like XP or potions or actual material things that you can use, but also rewarding you with the feeling that you're actually in this world. It actually feels like a legitimate thing that you're just gonna fall in love with. And I understand that it may not be for everybody, but this is a very special game with a very rewarding experience. And I just can't say enough good things about it. And I wish I couldn't, because everybody else has been praising this game, and I wish I could be different and go against the tide. But I've played the game. I poured 40 hours into it, and it's actually that good. So I'm going to be giving Horizon Zero Dawn a solid, firm, and fantastic, but right in the middle and very concrete, 9 out of 10. Alright? It's a game that if you manage to own a PS4, you need to do yourself a favor and get the game, because it's one of the best exclusives on the platform so far, and I can definitely consider it to be a system seller. If you don't already have a PS4, definitely consider getting yourself one by the end of this year and pick up Horizon Zero Dawn along with it. Maybe there'll be a bundle later on, but trust me, as a gamer, you need to at least try this game and experience it and dive right into it. As for me, even if there is to be a sequel, which an end credit scene kind of hints at, and judging by the sales that this game has garnered so far, there can definitely be a sequel in the works right now. But even with that it being the case, I can see myself jumping back into this game whenever I'm bored. It has joined the ranks of games like Overwatch or whatever, where I'm just going to jump into this game. If I have an hour to spare, I'm going to jump right into it, because I have yet to discover way more things about this game. Because right before I put this game away, after playing it for the very last time before moving on, there were some parts of the map that are still grayed out and fogged up that I haven't even discovered yet. And I'm pretty sure that there's a number of settlements in those gray areas, and I think there's an average of like 1 or 2 side quests per settlement that I have yet to come across. So yeah, I can definitely see myself jumping back into this world and experiencing it again with Aloy once more, and I'll definitely be doing that once I get through Mass Effect Andromeda, because that's going to be one crazy experience that I think you guys should definitely look out for, because I'm hoping to bring you guys some playthrough videos of that, because trust me, after the videos that I've been watching on Mass Effect Andromeda, that's going to be a very fun experience, one that I'm hoping to share with you guys. Look out for that, please. So it's time for you guys to sound off in the comments. You have played Horizon Zero Dawn. What did you guys think of it? Do you think it was a great game? Or do you think that it was very undeserving of the praise that it got? Do you think it was slightly overrated? Or do you think it deserves every single thing that everybody has said, for myself included, about this game? Do you think that it's going to be a killer app for the PS4 and a definitive franchise starter for Guerrilla Games? Please let me know all of your guys' feedback in the comments below. Like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more reviews and more of those gameplay videos on Mass Effect Andromeda, or at least one gameplay video to kind of jump into the first couple of hours or so and see what everybody is talking about with that game. But if you don't already own Horizon Zero Dawn and would like to purchase the game after watching my review, then be sure to use the link in the description below. It would actually support me an awful lot, so be sure to use that. I would definitely appreciate it. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to look out for plenty more videos coming very soon. Stay tuned for some more movie reviews as we wrap up the movie March Madness with the last 2 weeks, last 2 films of the month. And of course, those Mass Effect videos, they're coming and they're going to be great, especially when I get to that review for that game. So stay tuned for that by hitting the subscribe button below. I cannot emphasize that enough. And until next time, guys, take care. I will see you all later. Peace.